Nottingham Forest manages to hold off the entire Liverpool at home at the City Ground, thanks to a goalkeeper who has been immense. Spectacular, like spectacular. That has been the match overall. A gift. Football, a gift of the Premier League. Let's see what Nottingham Forest has left behind. 1-1. Liverpool at the City Ground. Let's get to it. What's up, cracks? How are you all? Welcome to the world, Maldini. Welcome to your channel, and welcome to what this amazing match between Nottingham and Liverpool has brought us. This is a great game at the top of the table, and Nottingham have shown today that they fully deserve to be where they are. A display of competitiveness from the team as one, and a Liverpool that ended up drowning, of course, the local team, but that in the end came up against that immense barrier. From the goalkeeper, from Sels, from the Belgian goalkeeper, who was spectacular. This video was supposed to be done by Julio, but he's not available because he's at the Iris Awards ceremony, as El Dia Después has been nominated for the Movistar program along with the whole team. Well, in one of the award categories, I don't know if they've won it yet, hopefully they have, but you needed to have this analysis, so here we are to give it to you. Let's go with the 11 players from both teams, and then we'll get into the details because it was a match that leaves a lot to talk about. Celso in goal, Orlena, who had an amazing game as right back. Milenkovic and Murillo, a defensive exhibition from Murillo, tremendous at cutting in, spectacular, very quick, very physical. Although on Diogo Jota's goal, they got a bit distracted between him and the marking that didn't quite finish. To arrive from the pivot, Chris Wood arrives a bit forced and it gets passed to Diogo Jota, a shorter player, to finish that corner. But aside from that, it was an amazing game from Murillo. Neco Williams, formerly of the red team, Anderson and Yates, both had a great game. Here we see a 4-2-3-1 that is true. In dynamic dimension, in offensive phase, this has been the case, but in defensive phase, its main nuance is that the team is very self-sacrificing. This team is one that waits with a low block the whole match, but when they break out, they do it almost with 2 touches, and each player gets into the opponent's area relatively quickly. JT Anderson, as I said, in the double pivot. On the right, Anthony Elanga, who had a spectacular defensive performance. In the coverage, he was tremendous. He didn't miss a single one. Hatsunodo Odoi. Great play on the first goal, the goal from Nottingham Forest. With the recovery, with the pass. Gibbs White, who I also think had an amazing game, orbiting around the attacking midfield area of Nottingham Forest. And above all, as I said, sacrificing a lot on the defensive end. A player who didn't have that profile when he was with other teams. Chris Wood up front, who had a 10-10 game, bringing down balls and allowing his teammates to get free, because he really occupied the 2 Liverpool centre-backs well. And above all, because he scored the only goal for Forest in the match. In the second half, Dominguez, Jota Silva, Alex Moreno, Aguonigi, and Morato came on. When the match was pretty much settled, only Dominguez and Jota Silva came on a bit earlier. But the truth is that this Nottingham Forest squad is the starting team, and in defense, in a low block on many occasions, because for most of the match, this team usually stays in a low block. It's something like this, with Anderson and Yates dropping back a lot, and a bit of a sort of 4-4-5-1 with Morato Giswai. Also dropping this line, and depending on where it's focused, in the case of the opponent, the attack comes from Anderson, who gets between the center-backs, or it's Yates, forming a line of 5. As I said, it's a 4-5-1 in defense, and sometimes even a 5-4-1, but although it may seem extremely defensive, the truth is that when they break out, they do so with a lot of danger, and that's what they did in the first half. Let's go with the starting 11 of Liverpool. Alisson Becker in goal, Alexander-Arnold at right back, Van Dijk and Robertson. A double pivot that we already know by heart with Gravenberch and McAllister. Gakpo. On the left, Szoboszlai as an attacking midfielder, he's improved. As the game went on, just like Mohamed Salah has on that right side. Luis Diaz as a false 9, although what we've seen throughout the match in this low block from Nottingham is that both Szoboszlai and Luis Diaz formed a double attacking midfield with the intention that either Gakpo or Mohamed Salah could cut inside. But the truth is that in the first half, Nottingham Forest defended so well that we barely saw Gakpo or Salah making those runs down the flanks. We've seen Luis Diaz receiving the ball very comfortably especially, but of course, he was receiving it in a position that was by no means advantageous. They let him receive the ball, and from there they formed that 5-4-1 line or that 4-5-1 line, depending on the moment. But the truth is that there was very little space inside, and for me, that's what I saw from Liverpool in the first half. Almost always very blocked and forcing a lot of shots from this side, from the left wing, but almost always from outside. The first half has ended with 10 touches in the box. Only. Arne Slot's team, which isn't used to having so many spaces closed off inside, and they haven't really been able to take advantage of the flanks and the width that Gakpo and Salah provide. Nottingham defended very well with very tight lines, and it has complicated things for Liverpool. To the point, They barely took a shot on goal in the first half. In fact, 0 shots on goal in that first half. In the second half, what has he done? Arne, I think it's a fundamental change. Tsimikas has come on in the second half along with Diogo Jota, and the formation has changed to 3 centre-backs, which I think is a key factor in understanding how they've started to add even more players in Liverpool during that offensive phase. The change has been this. With Ategon, Diogo Jota has come on. Liverpool has ended up attacking like this. And with these centre-backs, Robertson has gone. Tsimikas, Van Dijk, and Arne are practically closing with just one pure centre-back. A tremendously offensive tactic, taking huge risks. But it worked out well for him because as soon as he came in, Tsimikas and Diogo Jota scored the goal. Wait in a low block and counter-attack with as few touches as possible. The tactic is one of Holy Spirit, a tactic that has worked perfectly for him in the first half. And it's been working for him because it's one of the teams with the least possession from the Premier League, if I'm not mistaken. And even so, there are many matches where they dominate without having that ball possession because they have it. They consciously and comfortably give it to the opponent. Look at this goal, which is Chris Wood's goal in the 8th minute. Liverpool had almost all the ball. They were dominating possession. But at the moment they can steal the ball, they play with 2 touches. He recovers the ball from Hudson-Odoi, and in the 50-50 situation, he controls it and the pass goes straight to his teammate. The Anga, which is also with 2 touches, an oriented control and the perfectly threaded ball for Chris Wood, who doesn't even control it. It's a direct shot, a cross shot, and the 13th goal for Chris Wood that is emerging as one of the most unexpected revelations of this Premier League. And Nottingham went up 1-0 in a context that seemed like a dream for Nuno's team. The match, which they had perfectly mapped out beforehand, was going perfectly. And at that moment, Liverpool, to be honest, looked pretty blocked. I saw a bit of inaction from the players in the attacking third because they were attacks constantly too flat, very predictable. And with those constant assists, both from League and Hudson-Odoi to their fullbacks, along with the drop from the pivots, both Yates and Anderson were completely nullifying Liverpool's offensive play and continued to crowd many players inside. Liverpool hasn't managed to take a shot on goal in the first half, which has changed a little more in the second half. Little by little, they've started to wear out Nottingham logically because that defensive level was practically impossible to maintain throughout the entire match. And in those moments, Szoboszlai and Salah have started to appear on the right wing. And we've seen a bit more space in that so-called undefendable space, especially between the centre-back and the full-back. There have been several chances from lateral crosses, and especially that space between the centre-back and the pivot. That's when the players with more individual technical quality from Liverpool started to show up. Also Cody Gakpo, although to a lesser extent than especially Szoboszlai, who had a game that improved as it went on. But in the end, I think it was right given how he was playing in the first half. And Salah, who had a multitude of chances. But the key change has been this. Look, Tsimikas and Diogo Jota, who as soon as he comes in takes a corner, Tsimikas takes it, and Diogo Jota scores. Here's the image of the shot. Everyone focused on Virgil van Dijk. You can't see it in the picture, but no one was paying attention to the one arriving from the second line, which was Diogo Jota. Between Murillo and Chris Wood, they don't quite cover him, and he shoots almost alone between the 2 players to equalize. And the feeling was growing on the part of the red team. And from there, Salah's show begins. The show from the Nottingham Forest goalkeeper who, with a team completely broken apart, has been completely shattered since the 70th minute. Chances for both teams. Nottingham Forest was stealing from Liverpool. The team was broken in a Santo spirit. And above all, the physical wear and tear has been very noticeable in the home team. This is a chance that Bocayaro saves from Diogo Jota on the second ball he touched. It was almost 100% effectiveness. And then especially the next one that he saved from Mohamed Salah. Spectacular. The typical move that Mohamed Salah usually does, standing still and whipping it to the far post. He has made some incredible saves in what has been a continuous show from this goalkeeper in the last 10-15 minutes. He arrived, I think, for 7 million, and he's having a spectacular season. And the final image of the match, I would go with this one, because in the end, I think he was one of the men of the match, if not the man of the match. The man of the match is Sels. He keeps the draw because he had another chance, clear chance, for Cody Gakpo, who was denied a shot from Salah that Olaina saves right on the goal line when it was already a goal. In the end, it was a total siege by Liverpool, who I think played a much better second half than the first. And Nottingham Forest deserves a lot of credit for holding on. So, above all, you can tell that they have a clear game plan in that low block, and when they break out, in just 2 touches practically, in the end it was a 1-1 draw, a point split that clearly favors Liverpool. But I see this Nottingham team, and I have the feeling that today, yes, they really stepped up. It's really a team with aspirations. Champions, he's already at that level, and above all, he's caused Liverpool a lot of problems, who in the end managed to win. Normally, they would have won because Celso had an impressive performance. But It was a great match from both sides. Just look at the stats from our friends at Flashes Moreno, like how Liverpool has 195 expected goals. Logically, there were many clearer chances than those of Nottingham Forest, who barely had 3 shots on target compared to 7 from Liverpool, with a total of 23 shots, many of which were in the first half. When they couldn't find spaces, they shot from outside and it went over, and others in the second half towards the end of the match. With that performance from Sels, he has prevented Arne Lot's team from continuing to increase their number of victories. But everything stays as it was for Nottingham Forest, who have one more match than Liverpool. Tomorrow, we'll see what Arne's player can do, but as I said, a lot. Credit to Forest, who defended spectacularly well for 60 minutes, and from then on, well, they held on thanks to their goalkeeper against the constant attacks from Liverpool. Credit to Forest, who defended spectacularly well for 60 minutes, and from then on, well, they held on thanks to their goalkeeper against the constant attacks from Liverpool. For me, despite not starting the match well and getting blocked in the first half by Nottingham's perfect defensive system, he really played a good match and can be happy to have added this point, which actually brings him a little closer to the Premier League. A hug. Friends from the world, Maldini. Let's keep going. Champions.